Let's get started. It's Wednesday, so good evening. Hello. How you doing? How you doing? Okay, happy Wednesday, you delicious beings. How you doing? Today we have Chi, another brand new guest speaker who goes by the name of Reid. He is a relationship coach and a massage therapist. Today we're going to be exploring trauma bonding, sex, maybe even questions on a first date, and so much more. So let's bring you all the way in. If you're ready, let me come and find you. Or maybe you can press the request button and you can invite yourself in. Feel free to share the live, beautiful people. No, I'm not smoking. I'm just clearing space. As I do. One thing I tend to ask people to do, which I remind myself to do, is before going on a live, to make sure that your app is updated, because sometimes people have issues watching the live or logging on to the live if your Instagram app has not been recently updated. Hi everyone. We're just waiting for Ty to pull up on the live. So Ty, if it's a case where you're having issues logging on, as we've just seen you may want to reboot your app and try again, because that happens a lot. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, here you are.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello. That's it. You may want to. Is it possible for you to sit further back? Because what happens is when people
Yeah,
watch
sure.
the live back, it's very strange, because when we sit here, you don't realize after watching the playback that half your head's cut off. Yeah, and we don't
Okay,
want
cool.
that. Yeah,
Okay,
that's a lot better.
okay, cool.
Therefore, there you go.
Okay.
Hey Ty, welcome
Hey,
to your first visit on Free Flame Thoughts. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. Excited to have this talk, as I am with all my talks, really. But
Yeah.
before I get into anything, as I say, let's start with how did you spend the day today before coming on this live?
To be honest, it's a bit of a lazy one. I can't even lie to you.
Good, good.
Just
That's
errands
productive.
here and there. Yeah, like I was somewhat productive, but I started tidying up a bit later on in the day, and not as because I usually start quite early, but now
hmm
it's yeah. But,
But isn't it interesting that
yeah.
we've been nurtured really to believe that being physically constantly moving is productive, and actually being still is very productive. Doing nothingness when you are a constructive person is growth.
Yeah, exactly. What about
Yeah, so
yourself?
that's all good. Hi everyone. What did I do today? I done some official stuff. I wasn't working today, so I done some official stuff, emails back and forth, too much pondering, and a little bit of rest time, and maybe about an hour of just reflecting, should I say. So
Okay.
semi-productive, not as much rest as I should have had, but tomorrow
Yeah.
back in the gym and back to work. Yeah,
That's cool. Do you know what's
that's
funny?
cool.
It's
hmm
so different being on here compared to being on TikTok. It's two different worlds.
What's it like? Brief me. I've never been on there yet. Brief me.
It's you get a lot of anonymous people trying to like draw you out and troll and all that stuff.
What do you mean
But
draw you out? Give me a
I
little
mean,
bit
as in,
of
like,
scope.
for example, they'll look at your earrings and say, "Oh, why do you have them on?" Just little things like that, trying to get at you. So
hmm
it's very different from here because I feel like here is very people that you follow or follow you.
hmm
So it's very different.
It's interesting you say that. Let me brief you real quick on my perspective too. Maybe you guys can relate. each app, I've never done a live on TikTok yet, but each app has a vibration because it carries a certain caliber of
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Yeah. So Facebook has the more original, back when Facebook came out, it was all fresh. So a lot of big people's on there, like proper age
yeah,
group. They
yeah,
don't they don't deal with the stupidness. It's
yeah,
very
yeah,
rare you're gonna have stupid comments on Facebook because it's grown
yeah. On
folk.
Facebook. Yeah, yeah,
Then you've got the Instagram, which is a lot of young people, a lot more pouting and twerking and all that kind of era happening. Yeah. So you might
yeah,
get a couple of stupid comments, but the TikToks expect this stupidness. Like, why have you
yeah,
got a cap on in the house? Why have you got
yeah.
lipstick
Stuff
on?
like that. Yeah, exactly.
You have to understand they want to be a content creator with you. Do you not get what's going
Yeah,
on?
that's exactly it. Yeah, I
So
would get called Bob Marley. It's weird. I'm like, I don't even look anything like him, but it's
well, I'm Bob Marley. I'm Whoopi Goldberg. So
you know
you
enough.
just people. I'm really learning to take people with unless they actually
Yeah,
vibrationally affecting my life in a positive way. I just try to make people not relevant. I've got my block list. My block list is
it's
crazy.
long.
That's a whole nother show. We're gonna get into that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
we get that. We get that.
Okay. So welcome, guys. And for you that's popping on and off the live, and those of you who watch the playback, this is Reid. He is a relationship coach and a massage therapist. So let's get straight into the warm-up zone, which I like to do, which is unlayering elements of your soul before getting into the real dialogue. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yeah, let's go.
You sure? You got your helmet and the knee pads and your shoulder. You ready? Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, let's start with the most basic question. Who is Ty? Tell me a bit about the soul of Ty.
Oof. There's many layers.
Let's
As
get into it.
there's many layers. I would say I'm a person of many talents. I've
Mm.
dabbled in a lot of things. I
Tell
had a
me your
cake
top,
business
tell me
back in
tell
the
me
day.
two of those.
I used to have a cake business back in the day.
Can you bake?
Yeah, yeah, I can bake. Yeah, yeah. Baking, decorating. That
Nice.
was my thing for some years. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I'm just thinking of another one now. Yeah, you put me on the spot. You're right.
But that's
Um,
good though, because it helps you reconnect with that part of self. That's why I do this,
yeah,
where
yeah, yeah,
it's not,
exactly.
I got to brief you real quick why I do it. Not just I'm being inquisitive. It's more about we, for the new viewers, why I always do this on every live from observation. We are so keen on people's handles. That's not character, it's personality.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Personality and character is two different things, which is a synergy once we blend them together. So
Together, yeah.
I had to get to know the soulful character as opposed to I'm a singer, I'm a dancer, but then
Yeah,
if I
yeah,
took that away, who would you be?
exactly.
So I always
Yeah.
say, tell me about the soul of you. So I'm glad. So you are creative. Yeah, carry on. So you
Yeah,
like
I've
to
always
bake
been.
cakes.
Yeah, I've always been somewhat creative. Even like when I was younger as well, I used to try to create like comic books out of like paper from
Mm.
school. So I'd get paper from school, put it together, and start like just making my own comic books, if you want to call it that, and my own
Are you good
story.
at drawing though, or is it just like that's your
I was
binding?
trying. I was trying.
So
I
you
don't. I
like
don't
to,
think I was any good.
you're an expressive person.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
What
I'd say
else?
that.
Tell me something else about the soul of you.
Speaking of another thing, with personal training, I do that here and there as well. But then that's just something I do. It's not really. I'm into fitness. If that's
Is that the soul of you, would you say? Is that
I would
part
say
of the
yeah.
soul of you?
It's definitely definitely something. Yeah.
Okay. Tick. I'll accept that today. Yeah. Tell us your origin. Where's your folks from?
My mum background Jamaican, my dad
Hmm.
Trinidad.
Okay, so you're mixed like me. That makes us, listen, technically exotic, okay?
That's
Yeah, are
it.
you listening, people? We've exotic out here. All right. So you're mixed. That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, let me see. What was you like as a child? Tell us about the
Mm.
slight boy version of you. Tell me anything about what you were like as the younger version of you.
I would say quiet and shy.
I can see that. You're still shy.
Mm. Oh, me now? Nah,
No, none whatsoever.
because I've always been reserved, and I'll
Okay.
like analyze what's going on, pick up on people's energy, stuff like that.
Hmm.
And it's funny you say that because a lot of people think because you're quiet that you're shy.
Yeah, that's a
You
misconception.
get me? Yeah, and I'm just like, no, I'm chilling, I'm observing, I'm listening. and then
Mm-hmm.
I'll speak. Whereas a lot of people will just chat, and that's it.
But the reverse would be someone who is outgoing and bold and talkative like me doesn't have shy elements, which is a misconception too.
Yeah,
So I'm not
yes,
shy, but there's going to be little odd elements that can
elements.
give that bashfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's
Exactly. So,
interesting.
yeah, very
All
shy.
right.
But I had a decent amount of friends. It's not like I was just like in a corner by myself. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was pretty shy. But
As
yeah,
we're
I've grown
still
out
on
of it,
the, sorry, go ahead.
So I was just growing out of it because being in certain jobs and stuff that I had to be in, you can't be too shy if you get what I mean. Like you can be shy, but
Interesting.
not too shy.
So you say you've outgrown it. And funny, I kind of get the essence that I would have described you as someone. So maybe I'm picking up on the backdrop of what you used to be,
Maybe, yeah,
vibrationally,
definitely.
as opposed to what you've transcended to be now.
Now, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So now you're Mr. Confident, and
Yeah,
outgoing
I'd
and
say so.
bold.
There's levels, but somewhat confident. Yeah. Somewhat,
Okay.
somewhat. Yeah.
Today, if I'm speaking a little bit faster than usual, guys, it's because today, apologies, I want to get through as much as I can with this young man. Yeah. So we're still on the
How much did
warm-up
you write down?
zone. Mm?
Did you write down a lot?
I write bullet points, and if I
Okay.
go, I always write bullet points, and that can mean I go off none of it or all of it.
Oh, well, fair enough.
Yeah. So because it's free flow, there's always got to be bullet points. I don't do random lives. My lives are constructive in
Got a
terms of
structure.
there's always a
Yeah.
goal with the conversation, so people can actually gain. When I'm a guest, it's different. I do anything. I'm random. I don't even sit in the seat when I'm a guest. Yeah, I'm totally different, as I said. So yeah, for you. Okay, so as we said on the warm-up zone, I would like to know, you've just given us a little bit about what the boy in you was like. How would your last ex-girlfriend describe you and why?
That's the funny one.
Uh-huh. Didn't expect that question, did you? That's a new
It's a
question, just for
it's a
you.
funny one because that's even a deep one because that's part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now. Not because
Oh,
of
I
the
know.
situation that I was in
Mm-hmm.
pushed me to be like, no, this ain't right. I need to help other people that are going through similar or the same type of thing. Now, if you was to ask her what she thinks,
Mm-hmm.
it's probably going to be all lies because to paint me to be the bad person is going to be comforting
Mm-hmm.
to her. Do you get what I mean? It's a
Mm-hmm.
very, I don't even know if I could even share all of it. If, in all honesty, it's a bit, but I can
No,
share
okay.
elements of
Shall I have a little bit of a confession? Just a little bit of a confession. I always have a set of questions on the warm-up zone, and sometimes I flip it and it's totally new. This one was especially for you because you are a relationship coach, and it will tell me about the professional versus the individual, which is two different things.
yeah, yeah,
It's like training to be a therapist, which maybe later you can tell us the difference between a coach and a therapist. Yeah, they would learn a theory, but once I
yeah,
speak to them outside of work, I'm speaking to the soul of them, which is not the same person who's read the books. Do you
exactly,
understand? So being a
exactly.
relationship coach, people will expect a certain kind of response, but I knew that I've not asked anyone that question before. So it's interesting when you say, well, actually, she would answer
Mm,
all in reflection of comfort in herself, but that you haven't really answered it.
mm.
Uh-huh. But it's okay. I'll let that slide
Yeah,
this time,
do you know what?
Tata.
In all honesty, I wouldn't know how she would answer it. I'm not gonna lie. That's it's so tricky. With some of my previous exes, they've even told me, "Yeah, you're great. I haven't found anyone like you." Blah blah blah. Like because I would have conversations with them years later, and it would
Mm-hmm.
just be, "Hey, you're right. What's new?" And it would be cool. With that situation in particular, it's a very tricky one. In all
But
honesty,
you see
and
how
that's probably
interesting that question is? And I'd like
mm,
all of us to think about that question, to be honest. Let me tell you why I always ask soulful questions.
mm,
Because we're always in denial of the truth within ourselves, whether you are a bachelor's degree therapist, psychologist, that's
mm,
the reality. So, for
mm,
an example, even if you had the best husband, best girlfriend, best lover in your life, there's
mm.
going to be one thing very easily that they could say about you that people wouldn't admit.
Yeah.
So no one's gonna say, even if I was the best girlfriend, lover, freak, whatever, it may be something like, you know what, Ty, she cool, but she obsessive. She's an OCD. She is. There's got to be something, and that's when I feel like we're truly connected to thyself when we're honest. But I'll
Yeah,
let it slide
yeah.
for now. I'll let you slide for now.
I'll say,
Yeah,
listen, I'll say this.
go on.
She had mental health issues. This is why I'm not going to say it the way that I would.
No, you
If
don't
I,
have to even go into the personal part
yeah,
if you don't
yeah,
want
but this is
to.
what I'm saying. I don't know how that person is going to say what they're going to say. All I know is that the way that situation happened, they're probably
Okay.
going to say something in a negative light towards me in order for them to
There'll
feel
be nothing. Yeah,
better.
but then that's what I'm saying. But are we then saying because the person had mental health issues, which a lot of us do have in our own way, that they will only speak negative of you because she has a mental health issue?
The type of person that she is, probably,
Interesting.
yes, the
And
type
then
of
what
person.
about
Yeah.
let's forget her then. And this,
Mm,
if you want to, we can just skip on to the next.
yeah.
And we can go back to the comments shortly.
Mm.
If you used to pick another ex-girlfriend, there's got to be something negative that they would say. We're not all love and light, are we? Or are we?
I'd say stubborn.
Okay, so that's honest. That's what I
Yeah,
wanted.
but this
I love that.
I was
Yeah.
thinking about someone that's not done what that person's done, and I feel like it makes a very big difference depending on what that person's done towards you. Because the way that my previous relationships ended wasn't the same way as this last one. This is why I'm on
Mm-hmm.
this journey now, because it's so different. You can't even put them in the same category at all. Like there's my exes, and then there's her.
Oh, did you say exes?
Yeah, not that much.
All right. I'll let that slide. Let
Yeah,
me not hold you in that corner too long. Yeah.
yeah, sure.
I'll go on to the next. But thank you for getting there at least. So we can hold on to stubborn. But I know that's a question that's gonna have you reflecting after this live because these yeah, I ask certain questions for a reason because I feel
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, that's understandable.
it's soulful and it does make us think. And I'm comfortable with anyone's. I would just say what I think someone would think of me. I don't even think of the positives are too easy to draw to. There's got to be. None of us are perfect. There's got to be something,
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
But
Yeah,
we can push on from that. All right. What's your favorite pastime?
yeah. Going for walks.
Nice. So you appreciate nature?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Parks, go for
Yeah.
simple things.
Okay.
Really. Yeah, yeah. That's it.
Nice. And if you could change anything about yourself, if anything at all, it doesn't have to be anything, what would it be, do you think?
Mm, be less stubborn sometimes.
Oh, so back to stubborn, yeah?
Yeah.
Is it really stubbornness or is it strong will? So I think people get that.
It's a bit of both, depending on the situation. It depends. I think I'm
Okay,
quite fair, but then sometimes, I can stand my ground for something I believe in.
but is that do you see that as negative?
Not necessarily, but sometimes, you're kind of wrong, but you still want to be wrong and strong. And sometimes, that can happen. So, yeah.
Okay. And last question, let's make it fun. If you could choose any superpower, if you don't already have it as a talent or a gift, what would it be?
To be able to teleport, I would say.
Why did I kind of a lot of yeah? I'm not surprised at that answer. That makes sense. It's
Yeah,
a fun one.
teleportation is good.
But I guess people are teleporting in their own ways nowadays. If you believe in astral travel, I'm not
Oh,
promoting
okay,
it, but I'm just
yeah,
saying.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
promoting it, but I'm just saying. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you believe in that? Yes or no?
Yeah, I do. I do. It's just that I haven't really experienced it myself, but I know I've had things. I don't know if it's even the same thing, but I've had things where it feels like this is not just a normal dream.
So you believe in the supernatural world?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't been in touch with it that much, but yeah, it's a
You
thing.
may want to watch another one of my up and coming shows or ones that I've done in the past. Who I've had some
Okay,
serious guests. But
yeah, I'll
all
watch
right,
it.
yeah.
Mm.
All right, thank you, Ty. That's the warm up zone. Now let's get into it,
Yeah,
guys.
let's go.
Just to recap again, this is Ty. He is a relationship coach and a massage therapist. And we're going to be exploring all sorts today. Feel free to leave your questions. Although I don't even have my proper reading glasses today. They're in the opticians. I'm getting new ones made. I love glasses.
No
And so I
contacts.
don't
No,
have my,
no contacts.
I don't have, no, I don't,
Oh,
but I do, I have all different glasses, but all
yeah,
different,
yeah, yeah.
those particular ones are not with me. So, yeah.
Oh,
But
so
anyway,
that's why people are saying about you looking at Whoopi Goldberg because of the glasses.
No. It's just having a look.
Oh, okay.
I'm Bob Marley most of the time, yeah?
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, I got a couple of comments from Chi. So before we get into the dialogue, as I don't tend to read comments through the serious part of the talk, but I do create a
Yeah.
lot of space to go back and forth. And let's see what she is saying. I got to go real close to see if I can. You haven't even invited me yet. I'm still waiting for your sessions to even pull up. Chi, let's see. Something I can barely see this. I can tell what is on someone's mind. I may think I know, but I've got it wrong many times before. So I always say, okay. So that's the question in terms of what would your ex-girlfriend say about you? Yeah. All right. Okay. I say real quick. I feel like we know. I feel like we have a good idea. You can ask that person their thoughts straight after the breakup, and it may be a total different response a year later when they've kind of healed or whatever it is. But we
Yeah.
have a good gist of what they would say because they've told us,
Do you know,
especially in arguments. They told us.
I wish I would have known. Any other ex, I would 100% know. At least
Yeah.
like one thing from them. But this particular one, and it goes hand in hand with what I was saying, with why I do what I do. That person ghosted. Like,
Oh, let me
ghost.
write that. Maybe we can talk about ghosting. Okay, let me
Yeah.
write that
So,
down.
yeah, it's mad.
All right.
Because
So let's
if
get
we need to
into
get
it.
into it, we can get into.
Let's get it. Let's get into it. Is
I
that
can
right?
highlight some things then, because
All
then
right.
you would understand what I'm saying.
Okay, so let me ask the first relevant question, which is what inspired your path to become a relationship coach? Let's start there.
Going through what I did with one of my previous exes, it was very up and down roller coaster, loads of emotion, very intense,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, just very all over the place. I think that breakup probably hurt more than any of my other breakups, and it wasn't
Okay.
even a long time. You know, compared to me being with someone for years, I was with her for like 7 months. And now I know that sounds like, oh, that's nothing. But
No,
when you
three
go
months could
through
be deep. 3 months could be
the
deep
roller
depending on
coaster,
dynamics.
yeah, and
Yeah.
those tense emotions, it feels like it's nothing I've ever felt before. And this is why I decided to do what I'm doing, because I'm like, wait, there's a bunch of people online going through the same thing. I'm not even exaggerating. I've read hundreds of like, what do you call that, forums of people that have dealt with
Mm-hmm.
people that have the same condition as she does. And I'm like,
Oh,
whoa, this is crazy.
okay, so are you saying
Yeah,
your relationship roller coaster was purely because it was all her mental health, had nothing to do with you?
yeah, I'm being totally serious. Now, it might sound like it's an easy cop out, you know, because I feel like you should definitely take accountability for things that you were doing in your relationship, 110%. I always say to people, when you're going into a new situation,
Mm-hmm.
you have to, if someone asks you, and if you feel to share the information, what you've done
Mm-hmm.
in previous relationships, how
Mm-hmm.
you've learned, and how you're moving forward, if you understand what I mean. So a lot of
Okay.
people don't have that conversation. They just, you know, and you have to listen to how someone treated their previous partner as well, because if they haven't done the work, it's going to be the same pattern. You know, oftentimes people tell you how they're going to treat you before you even get into anything serious. You know, even if they're saying you, oh yeah, I've done this to a work colleague, what stops them from doing it to you?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the
Mm-hmm.
same, they repeat the same sort of behaviors in different environments, if you get what I mean. So yeah, so with her, that's why I said I just don't know what she would say, and not that I even care. But it's like,
Let me throw something at you. Okay,
yeah,
before
go
I
on.
do it, let me ask you,
Mm,
in your opinion, what
yeah.
is the difference between a relationship coach
Mm.
and a relationship therapist? Because we know there's a difference, but it's a very thin line. I'll allow you to
Yeah,
elaborate on that.
it's a thin line. So I think I was saying it to you yesterday, like masseuse and massage therapist. It's like one's,
There is masseuse courses though that say
yeah,
masseuse.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. It's like the term, because this is what I've got told as well when I was doing my course. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why this person said it, but they must have a reason. They've been doing it for years. They're saying like massage therapist is someone that's gone through certain
Mm-hmm.
qualifications. Masseuse is kind of like not necessarily qualified. Not that you're not, but you're not necessarily qualified. It's the
That's
same
why
with
I've
a
asked you the
coach.
question. Because when you say therapist, it holds more weight,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's why I don't call myself a therapist, because you have to
Mm-hmm.
do a certain level of you know, work in order for you to call yourself a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas life coach, yes, you might have studied, you might have done a short course, you might have done certain things to now build up that title of life coach, or you know.
Mm-hmm.
So just the name makes such a difference, but
Mm-hmm.
still,
Still holds weight.
it
Still holds
still
weight.
holds weight. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's not to make
Still
sure like
respect you.
you're unsure.
Let me
Like,
ask you, how long have you been, how long was a study to become a a
well,
relationship coach? Right.
I've been in and out of doing this type of stuff for like 2 years. So even before this particular journey, I was doing stuff on YouTube as well, like just self help, like doing like meditation, just loads of random stuff. Like I was actually giving advice to guys mostly. Not that my stuff doesn't relate to both guys and girls, but it was mainly just the men. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
let's just say the men, they just like to blame people a lot. For my experience,
Were you going through the healing whilst transitioning into becoming a relationship coach?
no, 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 no.
So you'd already gone through all of that and then
This is way
decided to.
before. I kind of thought of the idea, and I'm like, But me going
Mhm.
through that breakup put a battery in my back, and it's like, okay, now it's go time, because I've you know dipped my toes in it here and there, and then now
Mhm.
it's just like, okay, let's go. So you know, I've done my, what do they say, 110,000 hours, you know, whatever they say. Anyway,
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
that hours in. So
In your opinion,
yeah,
and this is definitely an opinion here when I ask this question, not necessarily, professional, but what makes what makes a good relationship coach? I ask that because of what I think, in my opinion, but what, in your opinion, what makes a good
yeah,
relationship coach?
someone that's realistic, someone that's realistic about life and things, and not just, it's not always black and white.
Mm-hmm.
If you get what I mean, it's like I feel like as well, when I think of therapists, sometimes I think of just like a board, you're writing down notes, and you're just like, But I don't like that approach. I like just being able to speak, and if you want to swear, you can swear. You just do your thing, just unload. If you want to cry, you cry. Get it
Absolutely.
out. You know, so that's that's my sort of approach. Is like I'm almost like a friend, but not a friend. If you get what I mean. So I can
I
give you
understand
maybe
that.
a bit. It's non-biased as well. If I feel like you've messed up, I'm going to say, listen, this is out of order. So you know, just
Mm-hmm.
make sure that person is accountable for their actions as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. What type of characteristics would relationship coach yourself before going to them? Because let's be honest, I know how viewers, I don't know how you feel. It's a bit like going to your doctors, right? You make an appointment to see your nurse or your doctor. You know they're qualified, that's why they're there.
Mm-hmm.
But you walk in, or you may just see them and the vibe just tells you, nah. For what, that you don't care how many bachelors they've got or masters. Is it vibration? For me, it's a combination of vibe and why I would go to that particular relationship coach. Now,
Yeah,
as you know, when you're making these bookings, you don't get to ask them what their life's about unless you know them. You don't get to say, well, how long has your marriage lasted? Because that's the truth of what people look at. It's a bit like going to a fitness trainer. If the trainer's overweight, I'm not booking you.
it's funny because I had that conversation the other
I'm
day.
not booking you. You understand? So let me just clarify why I'm saying that though. It doesn't
Exactly,
mean, okay,
exactly. So,
right?
and this
Let me
is
just
the thing.
clarify. Give me a minute to
Yeah,
clarify.
go ahead.
For me, only as an individual,
Mm.
you don't have to be married for me to come to the person and say, I'm going to go to you for the coaching.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't have to be in a relationship. But if I know the person and I haven't met them through just a referral and I'm just going there and don't know any different, I would want to know that you have had long-term sound relationships. Yeah. Long-term can mean 5 years to one, 30 years to
Yeah,
another. Hear me out when I'm saying this to you. It's not that you have to be married.
yeah,
You
yeah,
could be single. You could be absolutely single,
yeah.
and your motive for being single, based or celibacy, based on your history, is why I would respect you as well. Yeah. So, but I still need to see here a catalogue of why you are my mentor.
Exactly.
Does that make sense? That's like a spiritual advisor, or yeah, like a spiritual, spiritual cleanser, spiritual advisor. When I'm speaking to them, I would know if they're right for me based on how they're moving. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But if I feel like they've got an energy where they're on the same wave as me, I'm not going to them.
Well, you'd be surprised. There are a lot of people that are therapists as well, and yeah, let's just say that they're not necessarily, not that they're not qualified, but they're not
Oh, I
like,
know this because I've studied
yeah,
therapy.
yeah, see,
Yeah, so I don't, and the thing is that you can't hold it against, okay, for example, if someone's a psychiatrist, suddenly they go through something, their cat dies and they have a breakdown. That's not their
no,
fault.
that's not their fault. Yeah,
But
exactly.
what it is, as you know, is the tools that you've learned to reflect back to
Right.
yourself.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
No one's expecting you or anyone else to not go through hiccups because you say you're a relationship coach.
Yeah.
But I do look at, they need to be having, for me, to want to home in on that session, have more strategies that make sense to me for where I'm at, or they're going to be no use to me.
Yeah,
What's your thoughts on my feedback on what I would require?
I agree. In that case, then that's for you
I'm looking for a
to,
role model, is what I would need. It's a role model beyond where I'm
yeah.
already at.
And also you need someone that you can relate to as well.
I
Because,
don't
for
think I do.
example,
I don't think I do.
but that's it. That's a case by case sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because, for example, if now, because I know some people that don't even want to go to a white therapist
I'm
because,
just about to say that to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that's like a whole different world. So if I'm talking about back in the day, I used to do this, and then that person doesn't have a similar background, to them, they're thinking, what the hell are you talking? Then now you have to explain something else to them. They have no idea about it. So it's important to be relatable to that person as well in some type of way.
So you feel that's simple. Yeah. For a lot of people, that is very important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just about being relatable, and if not, just be friendly, open-minded, listen, you know, non-judgment. Because I say, look, I'm not here to judge. Do your thing. Now, for example, if someone wants to know more about me, I'm happy to share it. But
Yeah.
the thing is like, even one of my clients says, "Oh, I feel so bad. I've been talking about myself," and I said, "Yeah, that's fine. But unless you ask me for like, oh, what about you? That's my job is to listen and, you know." But if I now talk to them, who's doing a therapy session? Do you get what I'm saying? It's like
100%.
it's almost
100%.
like that changes it into you talking to your friend, if you get what I mean. Because what's the point of paying me then? They might as well pick up the phone and call the friend, because that's what a friend would do. So I just make sure it's very clear
100%.
that if you're sharing with me, you're sharing with me. If you ask, what do you think, or have you been through something similar, then I can say yes, no, and then we can move on from there. So yeah.
I totally get that. All right, so before we go into our little checklist of what we, you know, the promo stated that we're gonna speak more on,
Sure.
I would love to throw in the topics that is getting on my nerves the most, which I spoke to you about, yeah. And I've done other talks in other places.
Yeah.
And I've said, it's so annoying. This is me, guys. I'm being real with you, and I'll tell you why. Not because it's mirroring me, but I'm gonna tell you why. Every time I put on either TikTok, Facebook, or anything else, it's that narcissist and it's this toxicity. It's like, have people just realized I'm trying to work out, is it a new term to everybody all of a sudden? Maybe that's what it is. And we know that we're living in a clone, fashionable society.
Yeah.
So if one person's talking about it, the whole nation goes that way. Yeah. And so it's not that I am against the facts of what we need to discuss, but can we not confront that from a different perspective? So okay, let's touch on it real quick, because it's such an annoying subject that again, you know, all right, the perspective, I'm bored already. I haven't even started, I'm bored already. Yeah, but I'm going to try and flip it to a different place.
Yeah.
Guys, we know that narcissistic characteristics is very much rampant. We know that right now, the toxic traits and toxic femininity and toxic masculinity is all people are speaking about. Oh, and let's not forget the gaslighters. Yeah? What strikes me as annoying is this. If everyone's talking about the narcissist, the toxic person, and the gaslighter, and no one's saying that they are these individuals, I would take it that none of these people exist.
I think
Am I
it's
making
more,
sense?
yeah, I get you. I think it's more just awareness that people are aware.
We are over aware. We're over aware now at
And
this
the thing
point.
about it is, maybe it's that the algorithm. Have you liked any of these things? Could be the
Let me
algorithm.
explain to you what I'm about. Let me tell you why,
Yeah,
so people don't get it twisted with me.
mm,
I'm a very straight up, straight talking, accountability type of woman. There's no mincing or uncut with me. I'm very mild when I'm a host.
yeah,
Go watch what I'm like as a guest. It's two different things.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't like the uphold of a topic and people are not being honest of who they are.
yeah,
It's impossible for me to have had a toxic relationship whilst I didn't dance with the devil myself. What role did I play? That's how
Codependent.
real I am when I speak. You got to be like, it's impossible for me to have a terrible relationship all by myself.
Mm. Yeah, so with the narcissist, there's a codependent person as well. So that's the role that the other person is playing. There is
Mhm.
actually people, I've come across a few guys that actually diagnosed with narcissism. They actually tell you, like, hey, this is what I've done. This is, yeah. And they say it, and they say, like, this is what we do and all of that stuff. So there is
So
people that
you've
are
spoken
saying
to
that
people
they are.
that say, I am the narcissist.
Yeah, no, there's literally people out there that, yeah, literally. They
Right.
make content as well. They're on TikTok, YouTube, everywhere.
Right, but these are the
Yeah.
people that's often transitioned, and now I am a life coach.
Mm.
These are the people that's gone that way, so it holds
Oh, yeah,
more
no,
weight,
no, no. These people are not life coaches. These people are just saying that they're narcissists and this is what
right?
they do.
I would love those are the people that I
Yeah.
prefer to talk to as well on this topic
Mm.
because,
Mm.
again, if everyone is saying everyone they dated is a toxic feminine, is a toxic masculine,
Yeah.
I've never heard one of these people say, but this is the role I played. This is what I done that caused a domino effect. I just find it to be very unrealistic, um,
Mm.
very in denial and lacking of accountability. Again, counting all the red flags. People's favorite color is red, guys. So they
So,
collected all
yeah.
these red flags. And guess what? They didn't play no role in the situation, by the way,
Mm.
guys. It was all the other person.
Mm.
I mean, imagine. We have touched on for 5 seconds in the past saying that I've had a crazy ex-boyfriend.
Mm.
Did I see crazy and cross the street straight away, or did I stay with crazy?
Yeah. But
If
you
I'm
got to
all
remember that
together,
it's that emotional roller coaster, that they've been on. So it's very hard for them to just jump off at any time.
but the thing is, you're giving an answer before even knowing, because maybe they haven't had a roller coaster.
Mm.
Maybe it's just a case of I'm not like, okay, it can sound like I'm lacking compassion, but it's because I'm so honest with myself as a person.
Yeah, yeah.
It's me saying with all these topics, I
Mm.
sit there and I feel like I could watch a whole hour and they haven't said once what role they played.
Mm.
If I
But,
speak to the person, guarantee they're going to give a different version of what happened.
but that's why I say that there are other people that are not necessarily saying if they're narcissists or not. They're people that are
Right.
codependent. They're people that are usually empaths. So they're hand in hand, narcissists and people that are empaths go together. Well, narcissists, I would say, not hunt, but you might as well say hunt, people that are empaths. So this is why you're not going to hear the person that's been hurt necessarily. How would I say? It's more like, you're not going to hear the narcissist, sorry. You're not going to hear the narcissist be saying, yeah, I'm a narcissist, but you're not going to hear that. It's very rare. And people that have their accountability, they take their accountability in. I'm just thinking of a way to say that.
I could see.
Because, yeah, because do you know what?
Go
Because you're saying
on.
like people that don't have their accountability, right? But
Yeah.
it's like people are aware. I'm trying to get the perfect words out and I can't say it.
Mm-hmm.
It's annoying.
All right, I'll let you think about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Guys, if any of you ever want to talk to me about narcissism, toxicity, and all this stuff,
But
be sure to be the person. Why are you not in your
I'm
head?
confused. I'm confused why you're lacking empathy for the people that have gone through
What?
what
Well,
they've gone through.
no. But the thing is, that's what I'm saying.
Mm,
You can't really say it's lacking empathy unless you know my journey.
mm.
And the
So
reason
why do
why
you
it
feel so
comes
strongly
across,
about it then?
mm,
Why do you feel so strongly about it? Is it something that
because
you've
of the
been through?
denial. It's a denial that a lot of people have that I find
Nah,
irritating. No,
that's
I'm,
that's
no, I'm
that's not
telling
right.
you.
Mm,
I'm telling you that's what it is.
yeah, go ahead.
And I think when someone's so vocal, the way I am, it's like, oh my God, there's no compassion. let me tell you something, brother. It's a lot of the empathy and compassion that's got people stuck in this situation in the first place, as you just said. You know, so it's not lacking empathy. I can sit here and reel off my whole journey, and people be like, "Raw, I didn't think that you would have lived that." But that's because I can speak honestly about the role I played, and I feel like, go on.
Yeah, so okay, so you'll be the type of person to take that accountability if you fuck with that
100%, and that
narcissist.
irritates people more.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's how you are. You gotta remember, there's a lot of people out there that, for whatever reason, they just can't. Maybe it's childhood or whatever the case may be that's made them a certain type of way. So, you know, they'll give,
Yeah.
and then just get abuse, and that's all they know. That's what they've grown up to be in, that toxic household and all of that stuff. So, you know, I think the term narcissist, it's been used a lot, but it's making people very aware, which is good. Like whether it is or isn't, you know, that's whatever. But at least it gives people a guide to say, I'm not going to stay in this situation. Whatever helps them out, then fine. That's the way I see it.
Oh, no, absolutely. And guys, I'm not for a moment saying that it should not be discussed, but I'm saying it's like cooking rice and peas and let's say, I don't know, chicken. How many different forms of chicken do you know of? Curry chicken, jerk chicken, what? You know, I don't know, barbecue chicken. So it's a case of spicing things up in terms of alternative. So don't get it twisted. I'm not saying don't discuss the obvious and people becoming aware of how to protect themselves, how to leave situations safely, especially when violence is involved, etc. What I'm saying is the misuse and the self-victimization is what I'm saying to you.
Self-victimization, you think so?
Well, for me, definitely is what I see a lot of.
Right.
But remember, we can only speak of what we've experienced, what we've observed. Maybe you haven't seen that.
That's very
Yeah?
yeah.
Well, definitely. And people can see it as lack of empathy, but in every area of self, we haven't been created, Ty, to be, let's be frank, in every situation existing in the world, do you have compassion for it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'd say mostly.
How? You haven't lived everything to know that. So how?
So if you see something on the news, for example, a bomb in somewhere, it could be on the outside of the world, but you're still going to have some empathy towards that situation. Do you get what I'm saying? You don't necessarily have to live it to feel it. If you get
No,
me.
that I know. But what
You're
I'm
never
saying
going
is,
to be.
can you really speak for something that hasn't already happened in factual? Because I know that I couldn't. I don't have that power or foresight to say everything that happens in the world, I've got compassion for. And it's not, this is what I mean by not being realistic. This is me being real with myself. So if I
So with
say
the
to you,
compassion, there's levels of compassion now.
there you go. That's my point. So if you, whether it's your mother, your sister, your neighbor, your colleague, your partner, there's going to be someone that says, Ty, you don't understand what I'm saying. Ty, you didn't put the bin bag out. Ty, you haven't been created, my brother, neither have I, to assist compassion to every situation. So it's going to be lack inside of you as there is me. You might be more empathetic towards animals than me because you might love animals more than I do. I may say, oh my God, get that dog away. You may be like, oh, don't be like that, Silver. Yeah? You see what I mean?
Yeah,
Now,
100%,
right? So, or someone may say, oh my God, I don't like cats. I may say, oh my God, that's so cruel. No, we're not all here. You have to kind of accept where you're at and look at why we are the way we are, as you know. So when I say this to round up this part without people misunderstanding, but whether you agree with it or not, accepting exactly what I say, it's me saying, can we look at things from a multi-dynamic perspective? That's all I'm saying about the conversation about toxic and narcissist and whatever. I personally would love to invite people on who say, guess what? I'm the toxic person. That would make a good conversation.
Oh, there's plenty
Because,
of people that do that.
oh,
There's
then you're very
loads.
blessed if you've got people that you've spoken to on a live who can say, I'm the
But
person.
again, for what you've seen the people saying that there's narcissists and no one's a narcissist. I've seen plenty of people saying I'm toxic. There's literally loads of content creators that say I'm toxic or toxic ways to do this, or like I've come across them here and there. So there is people that are on both sides of the fence. It
I've
just
only come across
depends.
those who are professionals now, who become famous as a coach or whatever. But
I don't know what
I don't know.
their end goal is, but all I know is that they're saying, yeah, I'm toxic. And what? I've seen both sides of the story, so
Well,
that's just
then
my,
maybe that's your blessing though. But for me,
yeah,
I just see a lot of one-sided situations, and I'm just the kind of person that tries to look at things a little bit more dynamic as opposed
yeah,
to just one side. Because guaranteed, I can look at you, someone who looks put together, and then we speak to the person who's dated us. It's a whole different situation. That's what I mean
100%.
by self-victimization in the sense. But what about the other sides? You
Yeah, it's
know,
all about perspective, you know? And
that's
even just
it.
trying to figure out what the other side is, yeah, it's just all perspective at the end of the day.
It's all perspective. Someone once said to a friend of mine, "You're a toxic feminine." And I said to her, ask him, is he portraying the traits of a sacred masculine? And guess what? He had no comeback. That's what I mean. Yeah? He knew about the word, you're toxic feminine. So he
Yeah,
said, are you portraying traits of a sacred masculine so I can learn from that? I said, put that to him and see what he says.
yeah,
And he had nothing to say because he only knew the side of toxic feminine, but he
yeah,
wasn't displaying the sacred masculine for her to learn from as that
yeah.
wanting her to submit, but is he being a leader? He wasn't. So what would she be submitting to?
You could do all the right things as well, and some will still mess you up. So this, yeah,
Okay.
you know, you
All
can.
right.
Don't you think so though? You could be
Yeah, absolutely.
ticking all the boxes, and still, if someone decides to do what they're gonna do, be a narcissist, do whatever, they're gonna do it. That's the way I see it. You know. So
A life coach once, I'll say this to round up this particular part. A life coach once said to me, I met him at a networking function,
yeah,
and he said, Silver, have you realized how much we've been told to eliminate our ego? And whether it's narcissism, and he mentioned we went through all of it, especially ego that he focused on. And he said, why? There's a time and there's a place.
yeah. But I believe it's good to have somewhat of an ego, depending on the situation.
Whether you put it to perform on stage, whether you have it in the bedroom, there's a
Yeah,
time and a place for these characteristics,
wherever,
you know?
gym, wherever.
Exactly, the gym or whatever. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right. So let's go on to something more substantial then, other than this, as in trauma bonding. You mentioned it in one of your videos. Can you give us some insight now I'll let you take the wheel in terms of what would be a typical case of a trauma bonding case in terms of, from your background, research and opinion?
say that one more time, sir.
In terms of trauma bonding,
Yeah,
I know you touched on that on one of your videos that I saw on your page.
yeah.
So I'm asking, in your experience of professionalism, what would be the typical trauma bonding relationship? What can people look out for try and avoid themselves getting involved in this type of relationship?
Okay, so it's gonna go back to like narcissism again. You don't want to hear it,
Be
but we're gonna have to go
you,
into
be.
that field.
I'm not
Yeah, so
saying don't talk about it. I was just asking people to actually turn up the heat a little bit and switch it
yeah,
up.
yeah,
But
yeah.
by all means, be you.
So with people, how people
Go on.
actually end up in a trauma bond a lot of the time is
Mm-hmm.
roller coaster again. Oh, I'm gonna say a cycle. A cycle makes more sense. Just like if you think of like a recycling time. So
Mm-hmm.
firstly, idolizing you, love. Have you heard of love bombing before? Yeah, love bombing, all of that stuff, make you feel great. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna marry you, all that crap. Anyway, and then there's there's like devaluing you, just subtle things, gaslighting, things here and there, and sometimes it's very subtle, and sometimes you don't actually notice it until maybe a week later. And like, hold on, I remember when such and such said this, you know. So and sometimes there's some that's very obvious as well. you know, they can be blatantly very hurtful towards you, and they won't care. There's no empathy in it at all. And like they'll once they get to a certain point, they'll discard
Mm-hmm.
you.
Okay.
Um, I don't know forever how long they want to do it, 1 month, 1 week, whatever the case may be, and then they'll hoover you, which is like, I'm sorry, now showing empathy, all of that rubbish. And in your head, you're like, oh, you know what? You start thinking about all the good memories, and all of the great times and the holiday, whatever you experience with that person. So you're likely to take them back, you know. And even sometimes when you do get discarded, sometimes you're going to do a reverse hoover as well. So you're going to convince them, oh, stay with me. So it could either go either way. It could be a back and forth of hoovering. Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's me, that type of thing. So that's where, you guys kind of trauma bond. And you almost feel like you need that person. It's just that cycle again and again and again and again.
That last part you mentioned is, for me, definitely more realistic of what trauma bonding is about on a deeper perspective.
What, the reverse hoovering, like going back and forth with each other?
No, yeah, but more of the trauma bonding. For an example, people seeking, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, similarities in terms of past trauma and experiences.
Yeah.
That let's get more psychological if we can. Yeah, as in, so then people can help zoom in on that bit more. So I was more looking for more that side, because obviously it's all psychological, isn't it? In terms of trauma bonding, people seeking. Actually, someone on my Facebook today spoke about the kind of friendships that she seeks, and she cannot hold trust within those relationships unless they have gone through the same thing she's gone through.
Yeah.
And that was a perfect example of, and I shared something with her, for example, that could be seeking. It's like seeking love in a hopeless place, and you both in that hopeless place as well, and you both can relate and then become addictive. You become each other's drug. That can be a whole deeper level to trauma bonding. And yes, can't live without the person. Type
Literally a
thing.
drug. So
Okay, so can you give any tips for how people can safely detach from these situations, perhaps?
Yeah, just also educate yourself. I'd say try to do your Googles, if anything, because not everyone can afford someone to, speak.
Try to do what, sorry?
Do like your research, do your Googles, or whatever the case may be. Educate yourself, because
This
when
is
I was
what
going
you're here
through,
for.
say that again.
Give it some tangible feedback, if you can, of how they can safely get out of it. If that's not something that you can critique on, we accept that and we can go to the next. But that's the whole point of,
Yeah, that's why I'm saying to you that for people that want just certain types, because not everyone wants to reach out to me or to anyone. So people might want to go on Google and library, whatever you want to do. Try to educate yourself, look for certain patterns and figure out what you need to figure out. Because like I was saying, like, the narcissistic traits can be there, and you don't want to necessarily diagnose someone, but it helps people. This is what I was saying, when I was going through what I was going through, it allowed me to be like, okay, what is this? What is that? And it's able to help them. Do you get what I mean? So as much as I would promote my services as well, great. If you want to come to me, great. If you want to do it in the privacy of your own home, then great,
Okay.
Yeah, because if they're in that situation now, is that what you mean as well? Like, if they're in a situation?
Yeah, so for an example, if someone had, for example, randomly watched this clip and identified, trauma bonding, okay, what does that look like? Am I in that? Okay, let's Google and then do triple Google, because different pages will tell you different things that may not even relate.
Yeah. Well, there's going to at least be a pattern of similar things, at least.
Yeah.
So then when you start seeing the pattern, then you can go, okay, this situation is not for me. And I think it's important, if they have friends or family around them that they can reach out to for some sort of help, emotional or just something, because it's important to have some sort of help, when you're in these situations. I'd say, and it's hard for people that have kids and stuff like that, because that's a whole different ball game, but you have to start disconnecting yourself from that person. That's what
you mean children with the individual they're trying to detach from, you mean, in that sense?
That's what I'm saying. Like, let me take children out of it, because that's a whole complex thing. But I'm just saying, for two people that are kidless and they're live together, so I would say that they need to take a step back and not be so in, love with that person and what they think it could be, because that's what a lot of people fall in love with. It could be like this, it could be like that. Instead of focusing on the here and now,
the ideals.
What is it now? Not the fantasy, what is it right now? What is that person doing towards you? So I'd say that.
Okay. All right, so in reverse, so I can get a little bit more juice from this moment, let me reverse it, perhaps. what in your expertise so far, or with I should say opinion too, that would be make more sense as well. What is a healthy relationship?
A healthy relationship is when you can be open with someone. You know,
Hmm.
there's I can't say no judgment because we all judge in some type of way.
There you go.
You know,
Everyone judges. That's why they say
even
that.
if it's just a little
Go on.
bit or a lot,
Hmm.
whatever. But you just need someone
Yeah.
you can be open with, and you're not
Yeah.
going to feel like, should I tell them this or should I tell them that? It should just be
Hmm.
something where you feel confident enough sharing certain things with your partner. You know, just having an open conversation. You know, depending on what type of relationship you have, it's going to vary in how open you can be with that person. You know, just taking time with that person, understand and grow with them, because I always say you never really know anyone. You know,
That's the most realest thing you said so far. Yep, absolutely.
certain decisions and certain things that
100%.
people do,
Hmm.
you're not gonna know that person entirely. My mother doesn't even know me fully. I'm learning stuff about myself now.
100%.
You know, so that's just the way it is. But you have to be open-minded to that person. Maybe surprising you, not necessarily in the bad way, but it's like, oh, okay, I didn't know that about you. And that's
Mm-hmm.
relationships. You're always learning each other, so it never ends really until it ends. You know, I would say that's another thing as well. Um, keeping it fresh, keeping it fresh is very important as well. Being
What parts of relationships are we talking about in terms of keeping it fresh?
in all aspects, all of it.
How would you go about keeping your relationship fresh? Give us an example. Give us some examples.
Yeah, so I would say like, you know, instead of, because we fall into the routine and I've done it before as well. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like you can even predict if you're making out, for example, when you're gonna do whatever you're doing. It's almost like you know what you're gonna do next, and your partner knows what you're gonna do next. They know, okay, 10 more seconds, you're gonna turn me over. You don't want to do that. You have to try and switch up sometimes. You know, let's just say you always go to Nando's. Okay, we'll go somewhere else. You know, it doesn't have to be all the time, but just add something a little different here and there. You know, um, I think holidays is great as well because that's a whole different environment. There's the whole world to explore together. You know, it's going to be very hard to get bored with someone if you share similar interests and you're going about different places in the world. And in fact, you don't even need to go too far, really. You can even go to certain
Mm-hmm.
places in the UK and, you know, just find your way around. So there's loads of things you could do to keep it fresh as well. You almost have to
Okay.
feel like you want to keep this person, you know, instead of like, oh, yeah, they're there, you know. Because if you knew that 10 other guys were in her DMs, I guarantee you work harder.
That
But
would be the
because
man
we
that
work
really wants her.
together,
But some would say, I'm not in competition with nobody, you can have her. It depends on the mentality of the man, doesn't it?
well, hopefully they don't have that mentality. But yeah,
It depends.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it depends. So that's what I would say to keep it fresh. That's one of the most important things.
Give us your thoughts on the do's and the don'ts on the first three dates.
Oh gosh, my top one: do not be late. Timekeeping is very,
Good.
very important. Of
Hmm.
course, if there's traffic or certain things, something that you can't control, no problem. But I can't count how much times that someone has been late, and it's almost like, oh, well, I'm here now. That's not good enough for me.
Blase, bit
Because
blase
yeah,
with
because
the.
time is one of the most precious things. You cannot get that back. So don't waste my time
Mm,
because you don't know what I've had to do in my day to
yep.
schedule it a certain type of way. So the least you can do is be on time. That's the number one.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, manners as well. You know,
That's a big one for
people
me.
just, and I like to see how they talk to. Depends where we go. Like I don't know, go out to eat or whatever the case may be.
Yes.
And I can kind of see their mannerisms are a bit like, or people that just don't say please or thank you, that type of thing. Um, yeah, it just rubs me the wrong way. I just probably wouldn't even see them again.
So
Never see them.
punctuality is in timing. Mannerism.
Mhm.
What would be your last most important?
Do not talk about like your ex. I don't like that type of stuff. Don't do it. It's not
Is that
acceptable.
you or you following the trend of other cultures that say that? Or is that your honest opinion?
No, that's my honest opinion. That's my honest opinion.
So if they spoke about their ex in a particular manner, because there's all different reasons why people may mention that it could be derogatory or like, oh my God, you know, my ex, that's a no-no. But it could be, I don't know, another random reason. Is there never a reason that you will feel is acceptable for them to speak of their ex? No, full stop, regardless of what it relates to.
No, it's not a no, full stop. I think it's like a 50-50, depends how you're doing it as well. If we're having a conversation and it flows into that, then no problem.
Right.
If it's just like, oh yeah, my ex used to do that, it's like, but yeah, you're here with me.
Oh, that's a no-no. Yeah,
Don't
that's a
worry about your
no-no.
ex because now you're here with me. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, for me, that's like, nah.
All right. Okay, allow me to okay, let me put this to you.
Okay.
We're on a date, Ty, if you haven't run away by then. And yeah, let's say, let's say it's our first date.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're very time orientated, aren't we? We don't really think about the dynamics of how a first date could be. We're thinking of a typical first date. And for some people, 3 months relationship can feel like 3 years in intensity, in closeness. It depends on who you are as a being. Yeah. But going by the terms of first date, let's say we're sitting down, the vibe's nice. There's clearly an attraction there. There's mutual respect, all the things that you like in the atmosphere.
Right.
And I say, Ty, tell me about the younger version of you so that I can learn how to love you as a man.
So about the last relationship you did?
No. Sorry, if I said to you on a date, huh?
So if something drops, that's why I'm like, oh gosh, but yeah.
Okay. If I'm on a date with you, first date, and whilst we're talking, because you may say, so what do you know, where's your last holiday? Or what's your favorite flowers? Or, you know, we have the general, oh, you know, the weather's, you know, all that stuff. And let's say in the midst of that, I then say, Ty, I'd like to ask you, you're talking about who we are, right? So we're getting to know each other. And I say, tell me about the younger version of you. Tell me about the boy. And you'd be like, huh? And I say, by understanding elements of the boy in you, it will allow me to know how to love you as a man.
Okay.
How would you take that? Because this is how I roll. If the vibe is right, I don't really do too much of the small talk. How would you take that as a conversation?
I would say that's an interesting question. I would say, wow, I've never heard that before. But then I'll proceed.
You never met a woman like me before. Hello.
There you go.
How? Because I'm very psychological. Because that usually throws people for the right reason. And that's some people have got aggressive with that. On the other hand,
you could be too much to someone. You could be like, what?
I was just going to say to you, that's where I was going next. That's why I said you. Yeah. I didn't say someone. So for some people, they wouldn't even get that question because it's not worthy.
Yeah. That's why I said I don't mind. Me personally, I'll just answer it the way I'm going to answer it. I wouldn't.
Okay. Now the reason why I've asked that question multiple times, even to someone that I'm like, I kind of feel like it's time to go now.
Yeah.
Because maybe the conversation is so trivial and it's too much of, you know what, you're looking so, I don't want to hear how good I'm looking for the next 2 hours. I don't. You've said it a few times, but let's now remove the physical. I may feel like that, depending on how much you're going on. And I may say, you know what, let's get a bit more dynamic. And I may throw the spanner to see how your psychological set or whether you have a spiritual side to you. So I may do it knowing it's going to make you run away. And that will clarify real quick, you know, for me.
I understand that. But do you feel like it's a bit too intense for the first date? Because there's levels.
This is why I asked you as a man. Yeah.
You don't want to waste your time. That's why I said, for me personally, just answer it. I wouldn't necessarily think it's good or bad. But I feel like sometimes someone doing that, and I'm speaking from someone else's perspective, could be doing too much. It's like, this is our first date. Let's just build it up, you know. And I think that's the best way to do it, is like build it up. Now, that question, I don't think there's any right or wrong way, and I think it depends on the person. And that's why I said, because I've been with people in a 5-year relationship, and that alone would be too much for them in 5 years. But then I've sat down with somebody, and while I'm trying to keep things simple, because the book says, and I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way, but the book says it's the first date, we should actually just talk about the latest movie that's out. The guy will be like, you know what is this? Are you spiritual? Tell me about your background. You know about your aunt. And that for the first date, I loved it because I knew that he was deep.
So someone like me, I like profoundness. Small talk don't really make it for me too much. So it depends on who you are. If the man's very
Yeah.
simplistic and he's very time orientated, that would
Yeah.
be way too much for him.
Okay. So when do you have small talk then?
When I'm at work, when I'm paid to be
Oh.
nice to everyone that you have to be courteous to.
So you're telling me that if you're with a person, you're always going to do the bigger talk, or are you not going to do small talk at all?
No, I don't feel like there should be a book text plan. I think it should be a vibration. If you are a spiritual person, which we all are, born in spirit, whether you're activated or not, I don't think there should be a time reference. Like, what's that book that the individual wrote about? Don't have sex within 30 days. I don't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that
There's never rules. There's
your
never rules.
DNA, my brother, and mine's, and your destiny and mine's is two different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand.
So whilst you may be on the slow train going to Victoria, that woman's packed and left you already because you're not on her wave.
Mm. Mm.
Now,
You
if
have
you're
to bear
following a
in mind as well.
textbook, do you understand?
Yeah, no, I totally understand you, but I think there's a time and place for both.
There is,
And you
there
have to
is.
make sure that you're careful as well, because oftentimes I've spoken to people where they're doing all the deep talk and someone's just, they know certain things and they're just mirroring what you're saying, and they might be very knowledgeable. So they're just mirroring
Yeah.
and just matching what you're doing. They're not on the
But
same
I'm all right with that.
frequency,
I'm all right with that.
but
Yeah.
they're going to trick you into thinking that they're so deep. So this is why I say,
Oh,
like,
no,
yeah,
no,
let there be a
no.
mixture of small talk and big talk. No
Hmm.
problem. I don't
But
think
that's going to come naturally. What we're going to
yeah.
have to do now.
And that's why I
Like,
say there's not necessarily a wrong or right way, but me personally,
yeah.
it's too much deep too soon. I'm just like, okay, just it's fine. We can do mix and blend, you know.
I mean, there's levels. Come on.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't mean
100%.
like, tell me who your mum was and what your grandma's middle name
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, I was keen because what I'm trying to do here, and everyone is different. I've had different cultures on it before, is balance the textbook to the individual. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm putting different things to you, because I've learned a lot more about you as an individual than you as a textbook by your answers. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is nice,
yeah.
you know? And so what I'm saying is, as I've spoke to different people and you hear different cultures, for example, the Americans, guys, let me speed it up. The Americans, in terms of dynamics, the American approach is a whole different thing to Londoners and UK.
Yeah,
I prefer the cultures that are out there because they're more aggressive with their approach and they get to the point real quick. Yeah, I don't mean intimacy as in sex or anything like that. I just mean UK tend to drag things out in a lot of areas, but yet speed up the sex. A lot of people are trying to time frame emotional and psychological intimacy and spiritual intimacy, but yet they were smashing from the first night or the first week.
I know that you said UK, but don't you think that applies to a lot of the world nowadays, with everything based on social media and everything easy access and everything in a certain type of way?
Oh yeah, of
People are
course. I'm trying
literally
to in terms of
playing.
life coaches,
Yeah,
the
people,
approach from a coach is two different things.
yeah, people are playing a lot of the time. They're playing a role. There's even a joke on TikTok like, "Oh, me figuring out, what version of myself I'm going to be for this person." So there's people that play characters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even you could do the deepest thing. Some people know how to play the game. They can waste.
But that's a different part of what
That's
I'm
fine.
speaking about, though, Ty.
Yeah.
See, playing the game and mirroring. This is where I'm at, guys. And now, guys, maybe you can add some comments, and me and Ty can get to your comments as we move to the next stage. But let me explain something about where I feel that individuals ought to be or not be. As you got to be your own individual self. There's no book in the world that's going to tell me how to construct my DNA as a woman, but it can help me in terms of reflecting of where did I go wrong in the past, or are you going wrong, but you're with the wrong individual who doesn't vibrate in alignment with you. So I feel like how we coach people or ourselves depends on whether you are a spiritual person, whether you are culturally where you're from, religiously where you're from, can play a big role in how we maneuver relationships. Yeah. So for an example, like I said, you've got to definitely mix and blend. No one's saying go straight into the DNA deep conversation, but if that vibration is there, I welcome it.
Yeah.
Whether I'm loving your deepness, loving your simplicity, loving the atmosphere, the best place you've taken me, my mind is never, are you mirroring me? That's between you and the creator. That's the thing. I never hold myself back in terms of, oh, if I'm getting all of this deepness or this, you know, this vibration, it means what I do is me freeing myself. I'm a bohemian soul. I love like that. So I never hold back based on what you may be doing or you may be thinking. That's my freeness. That's where I think people go wrong. You start to try to alter yourself in case they don't or in case they do. So even if he comes across as the man of my dreams, he can never trick me. My heart could be tricked.
Yeah,
My
but
mind
never
can be
say
tricked, but my
never.
spirit can never be tricked.
Never say never. You still got tricks regardless, right?
No. Okay,
Yeah.
yes. But do you understand what I just said? I said it on my last live.
Yeah.
Our mind is fickle. The heart has ideals. If you're connected to your spirit based, it will never lie to you. We lie to we. And on your post, actually, I left a couple of comments on a couple of your videos.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's speaking about hurt. And I said, it's impossible for me to be repeatedly hurt by anybody. Because trick me once, trick me twice, shame on me.
So do you feel like you have a almost like a guard up in the sense of yeah, because it's
Accountability,
like
open.
yeah, you can't trick me type of thing. But do you feel like you have quite a
No.
strong guard?
No, I think you're misinterpreting my ownership as guarded.
No, I'm just asking in general. I'm just
No,
wondering.
not at all. Not at all. No, I think the only guard I have up, well, the only guard I know I have up in my life right now is it's silver season, which means I'm focused. And it means not as much fun or party or social for the next month or two because I'm focused on achieving goals at transition before the new year. Yeah. So my guard is definitely up in terms of I'm not going to entertain any unnecessary distractions. Yeah. That is the only guard I have up. But in terms of my transparency, I think people are not used to it. So therefore, it's misinterpreted while you even ask the question. Yeah? So definitely not. Definitely not. But when we speak of hurt, and let me fine tune it so the audience understands where it's coming from. There's a post on your page, and the woman, you know what I'm talking about, the man is kissing the woman all over her face, like how a dog would to its owner. And the woman's doing this. Yeah. And then you add your slide saying, you see how her reaction is unappreciative. Now, that for me was a misinterpretation because for me, she looked like she was being smothered. Yeah. To somebody else on your page, they wrote, I would love to have a man like this, but where's the loving? Yeah. No, but hang on. Everyone's need comes from somewhere different. Some people never had loving as a child, why they hunger it so much like that.
That's what I say. Yeah, it's definitely a perspective thing.
Yeah, it's a perspective.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
Now, some people, again, would interpret that as sweet affection. Yeah,
definitely.
But imagine if, right? That's probably you. That's probably why you agree with the slide. Yeah. But imagine if some people genuinely, it's like me. I don't mind holding hands. But some people may not like the hand holding thing. Does that mean they don't appreciate me? No, that's not their love language. But then in the slide, you was like, you see, some people, look how but then it was like she was made to seem like she didn't appreciate him and look how bad because I think you said, look how bad she's treating him. There was no bad treatment there at all. All she was doing this, like when a dog's licking its owner's face, she was like this, almost all right, honey.
And this is why I say perspective is very important. So even if you're a coach as well, you're going to see something completely different from me. And that's just the way it is. It's just
so you saw her response as her treating him badly?
As her treating him badly?
Yeah, because she was doing this, as in like this, a bit like she was like this.
So when you look at the actual video on TikTok as well, there's a lot of points in there, comments back and forth. That's why I came to my conclusion of what I did. So
you saw her response as not feeling like, although she didn't say anything, she was like this. Again, like when a dog's licking your face, she was like this. But you saw that as her treating him badly, right?
I saw that as affection, nice affection that she didn't want. Now, this is what you have to bear in mind. With TikTok, there's other creators that do similar things to me, right? So their take on it, I've seen like different versions of my thing, completely different.
What give me some variations of that.
It could be like the same thing that you said. They could be like, oh, actually, that's not him smothering. That's not him being smothered. That's him being nice. That's him being affectionate. That's him being that's showing love, or whatever the case may be, whatever way
For
around you want to
me,
look at
she
it.
might be getting that 24 hours a day, which will be
Yeah,
too
and
much.
it might be too much, but again, that's your
Mm-hmm.
perspective. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's always going to be two sides of everything. People are going to say, I don't like this guy, Ty. I like Silver. They'll go to your side. They might like me.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is. It's all about perspective
Do
at
you
the
know
end of
how I
the day.
really see it?
Yeah.
I just feel like how it. Remember, it's a skit, isn't it? It's actually probably not even real.
A lot of the time, yeah, with TikTok, you just never know.
Yeah, but people
The
take
internet
everything
is
they
just a
see
rocks.
seriously, right? How I see it is that let's say it was real or not real, that looked like something that she's not surprised by. It's something he does constantly, yeah, and it's okay some of the time, but in some moments it may be a little bit too much. Now, I don't see that as her treating him bad because she just didn't throw her arms around him. I just saw that as in that moment, that wasn't her love language.
Perspective.
Yeah,
There you
perspective. Maybe
go.
I should share that video, yeah?
Yeah,
Give people
exactly.
what. But anyway,
Exactly.
before I kind of ruffle things up, let's go to some comments and then you can kind of pick something that you want to home in on, which maybe you can specialize in speaking as
Sure.
opposed to me trying to overpick your brain. Yeah?
Sure.
Okay, without my double, triple vision, it is hard for me to okay. Um Sometimes by the time I go to comments, I may not know exactly what it was in reference to. Right, Chi, you're gonna love. See, Chi, you are going to love the first date. Let's go deep because you're very spiritual. I know you in it, and you know me levels. So that's one man saying, "Let's go deep." That's because of who you are. For somebody else, the man would run away, and that would be great for me because I wouldn't want him anyway. If he's running away from depth, as opposed to, do you know what I mean?
Mm.
But that's this. Another man would be like, nah, let's just talk about the weather or let's just talk about, and it's all right. Everyone's love language is different. I don't think there should be a textbook of how it should be. I
Definitely
think
not.
go with the vibration and hit and miss, test the waters and just see. Hang on. hmm So someone says here that they wouldn't have given an example of, I'd like to know the boy in you so I can get to know. That would be too deep for her. And that's perfectly okay. Absolutely okay. One size does not fit all. And even me,
That's it.
that's not something I'd ask everyone either. It's got to be a moment for a reason. Either I'm testing to see where the levels are, or I feel like that will allow me to understand your behavior on the night. That's often sometimes what it is, the behavior for, let me see what that's about. And it's never backfired yet. So
Yeah.
in fact, to be honest, the response I've got so far is, rah, I've never had that before.
Mm.
Okay, so you're not just physical then. I've had positive responses from that. 'Cause I feel like
That's good.
there may have been an impression that a
Yeah.
certain woman is a certain way, especially when you're on media, you got to be shallow and blonde.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? So they didn't expect to even have that kind of dynamic conversation or
Yeah, that's interesting.
but everyone's different. I definitely don't think one size fits all. Okay, so Ty, as we I didn't even cover half the things I wanted to, but is there anything that you would like to hone in on your specialty? Because I feel like I've tried to get things out for you like this. So let me
Yeah,
let you
definitely.
flow, if possible, to a couple of things that you want to, sit on before we close the live.
In terms of what I do and my target and my goal is with
No,
people, yeah.
yeah, yeah, you can do that, or any
Okay.
specific topics, so people can hone in on some kind of advice of
Okay.
what that whole point of being a coach kind of thing.
Hmm. I would say I'll leave it as this. With what I do as well, it's very important for you to have a relationship with yourself because, like I was saying to you, a lot of people don't have a relationship with themselves. They have a relationship with others, and they can't do things by themselves. I say
Mm-hmm.
to people, yes, we can talk about the person that's hurt you, whatever term you want to call them. That's
Mm-hmm.
totally fine, whatever. But now, when you've vented out or figured out what they are, what are you doing to move on from that situation? What is the relationship with yourself? What are you
Yes.
doing day by day, week by week, in order for you to improve? Because the thing about it is, you're gonna probably get to a certain point that you're doing very good, and then you're gonna end up, failing. Let's just say you're going to the gym, you're consistent, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
be going, and then you're going to fall back a bit, whether it's to do with work or whatever the case may be that's making you fall back. But it's fine because you can keep on building up your relationship with yourself, and that's
Mm-hmm.
totally fine. And I feel like people always feel like what I do is only for romantic relationships, your work relationship.
Yeah.
See patterns of everybody, even yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What are you
Yeah.
doing as well? Maybe you're saying certain things to make people react a certain type of way as well.
Of course. Of course.
So, it's just, yeah, you just being aware about what you're doing. So that's sort of the message I want people to sort of leave with as well. The relationship with yourself is important. Date yourself. I date myself. I like going to the cinema.
Well, that's definitely my term that people know I speak on a lot is whether I'm in a relationship for 10 years or not,
Yeah.
single or not. I've learned over the years to date myself. I think it works for me. I think
Yeah.
it, and I say this also to people that I know and love, or even youngsters as well. And I always say, we're so fixated on conversations like this of how to be right for somebody else whilst being the opposite for ourselves. And so I feel one of my personal tips, regardless of well-being, is trying to maintain, as you just said, relationship with myself. So his flowers is a bonus to me. His date actually is a bonus to the date I take myself on, or
Adding,
contribution.
it's about adding.
It
It's not
is,
that you need it, but it's nice for someone to add on to what you already have.
absolutely. And some things maybe is a need. That's why we balance out the masculine and feminine. Some things are a need. But in terms of dating thyself, I do think it's really important. Another thing that I think super important for someone like me is, and I think actually the majority for a lot of us in reflection of when I speak to people, is they know what they want most of the time. Let's say someone knows what they want, female or male. They know what they're seeking, they know what they need, they want this type of person, they want that kind of person. Brilliant. And then I say, one of my favorite questions, really, especially getting to know somebody first, is what's your hobbies? And it could be, did I hear a pause? Oh, sorry. So you work, okay, I get that. And your hobbies are, oh, you paused again. Okay. So when we're dating and we're together, other than work, we're going to be doing, I see. We're going to be doing a lot when we're together, but without me, what are you doing? And for me, I would say, guys, my biggest tip is try to incorporate hobbies in your life. Or for me, I'd even say, okay, so maybe you don't have a hobby now, but what can you envision doing as a hobby? Is there anything? I personally don't like to be with anyone who doesn't have hobbies. I've realized from experience how that negatively affects my relationships. I feel healthier at best when he has a little something. Whether you're going to go and do golf or football or basketball or the gym, I feel like we have a lot more to talk about because we have separate dynamic lives and even a bigger one together. And maybe we can have a hobby together as well, but it can't just be about me and you in that terms. And I've realized through that development, there's a lot more respect there for me as a woman from that man. Because it ain't just about work. I'm doing this, so I want to do that. Or I want to do this, or this is the hobbies I want to take up. And being not active in avoidance of your life. Because everyone knows I love my own company. I'm very good in my own company. Very good, whether it's celibacy, whether it's singlehood, I'm good in that space. But just try to have something for yourself other than your whole life being absorbed by that person is so important.
Yeah.
So whether you're with them or not, you've still got self to hold on to, which is, I think, is very important.
Definitely.
That's my thing. Guys, we didn't get to touch on half the things. Yeah, or sex or anything else. But hey,
Maybe
they can always
next
be a
time,
part.
guys.
Yeah, it could always be a part too. Kai, thank you very much for your presence today and your participation. Guys, is there anything else that you would like to say to Ty, or should we just thank him for his time? Let me put a love heart in the comments box for you, Ty. Okay, Ty, as I do everyone else,
Yeah.
before you go, I'd like to ask you, how was your time spent today on here on Free Flowing Thoughts? What was it like for you?
Change of pace is interesting going on someone else's platform, but I've done it before. But it's very different when you're in someone else's arena. So it's interesting how people deliver stuff. How it's very very different. So yeah, it's interesting. I like it.
Good. And actually, everyone I speak to, it's always different for me because it's the dynamics of what people evoke in other people and how we converse our communicative language. So
But yeah,
thank you so much for joining me.
okay.
Peace and love. Feel free to exit the live wherever you see that X.
Okay, yes, on the right hand
Thank you
side.
so much, Ty.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Thank you guys for joining us. And if there's anyone else that wants to come on at any point and talk about these topics, or if there's anyone else watching that actually right now that saw this, has been watching this live and want to jump on the live now to emphasize anything we shared on that topic, press the request button right now before I close this live and come on. And we can go a little bit deeper or explore other elements of relationships. Maybe you can add to it as well. If not, we can look forward to Friday. Friday is scheduled for sound healing. So I have the most divine queen coming on who's going to be doing sound bowl and talking about her divinity and her lifestyle and how she uses sound as a form of healing. It's going to be interesting. All right, guys, wishing you a very good night. Thank you for joining me. Peace and love.